back in the expo area here at Indy Superpole, back in the pit area with Bob Parks. Bob is probably the expert in tire cutting in the sport. He's owner of a business called Custom Tire Cutting. Bob, exactly what goes on and why do the pullers have to have the tires cut down rather than using a stock tire with a real tall lug, the same as a stock tractor tire has?
Well, in any class, the tires with the stock lugs move too much dirt and they pile it in front of the sled. And when they do that, they're losing drawbar height, so they lose the pulling power.
So in other words, they don't want to dig a hole down. They want the tire to always try to chew ahead as the tractor's going down the track.
Yes. And the big difference is whether it's a Superstock or modified, and the big difference is in the tire speed is how tall a lug you really want.
The faster they turn the tires, then the less lug you would want to have on the tire.
Yes.
I imagine these tires are specially built for pulling. They have a special compound that is harder or tougher than a normal tractor tire that would be used in the field.
Yes, it's the same tread design as the farm tires they have now, only the rubber compound is extremely hard and they have less ply in them than a farm tire would.
I noticed that the cleats on the pulling tire, the way you have them cut, actually come together in a point. A stock farm tractor tire isn't that way.
No, this new style tire is called an all-traction 23 degree, and the old style tire is an all-traction field and road, which has 17 lugs. The new tires have 24. Actually, they have a short and a long lug. The short lug comes in here and around, and this is in between the two lugs. The long lug comes out here and out, which I cut part of that off.
So actually you've cut down into the body of the tire to get the two cleats to come together and meet in the center.
Yes. This tire here is for a Superstock, and it has a taller lug than a modified, which it has a 7/8 inch lug, and is 1.5 inches taller on the outside than a modified would be. On a modified, you'll end up having a 1/2 inch lug. You won't see this indentation here anymore, and it'll be 1.5 inches lower on the outside.
So the faster the tires go around, the less lug you want to have.
Yes.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 1988 Nationwide Auto Parts Indy Superpole, sponsored by Bill Estes Chevrolet and presented by Budweiser, the king of beers. We're glad to have you back for Superpole 15, America's most prestigious pulling event. I'm Dave Grimm, and working with me this year, once again, Mike Snyder. And Mike, always a lot of action here with many different classes. What can we expect here in Session 3?
Well, Dave, we've had two real exciting sessions of pulling, and we're getting ready to start the third one. I don't know how we can top what we've already seen, but I'm sure it'll be 3 really exciting classes.
Mike Snyder, we start things off here in the 6200 two-wheel drive, the big Saturday night show. And the session number 3 pull gets started with Wayne Roush, the puller from Dublin, Ohio, the 1923 Model T truck, the big KB Chrysler engine. Wayne makes a nice start. Here he comes. And Mike, it just looks like he ran out of power.
Well, I think Wayne being the test puller, he might want to come back and try that again, Dave. I think the sled setting is real close, but I'm sure Wayne would probably like to have another shot at that.
Well, Wayne Roush is a real pro, so we have received word he will drop, come back 6 positions later on. That means Jim Brockman now will be the next puller in line. Jim out of New Haven, Indiana, just east of Fort Wayne, driving the Chevrolet C-Cab. 1908 version, but I'll tell you, a brand new spanking engine.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, some of these new two-wheelers that have come out in the last couple years are really crowd pleasers. They're a lot different from the equipment we've seen in years past.
Now, this looks like a longer wheelbase than some of the other trucks, but is it just my eyes or is it deceiving?
I think it's just the way that the thing is built. Really, the length is the same on most all of the two-wheelers, but with the big cab and the open cockpit and so forth, it just gives you a little different perspective.
Everybody has a different vehicle. They all look different. That's what makes the class so exciting. Our Saturday night show is being televised for ESPN for broadcast at a later date. So Jim Brockman, who has won at the Indy Superpole in past years, would love to do it here.
And this will be our first official pull in the class.
We'll have to measure this distance. Jim Brockman, a very professional puller. He knows what it takes. Let's see if he can do it. He has speed, he has lift, and he's gone for broke.
Right out the left corner of the track.
It's a full pull. Here's Ed Hilton out of Star City, Indiana, with the 52 Chevy panel van. This has the Chevy engine, and the truck, of course, is being replaced by a new machine. Nice pull.
Good pull.
Lift on the front going for that left corner, comes up a little short. And the distance for Ed Hilton, 2:06 and 2.
Well, Dave, I think the track officials have decided to leave the sled where it was set, so we're underway officially.
Well, it always takes a couple of trucks at the beginning of the class for track officials to take a look at. They want to get everybody right down near the end to get everybody in the Coliseum. And those of you watching at home, a lot of excitement.
That's right, and it's hard to set the sled on just one vehicle, so they like to run 2 or 3 before they make a final decision.
Here's Tom Arps out of Napoleon, Ohio, with his Chevrolet Black Widow.
Pretty good run.
2:19 and 1 for Tom Arps.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, the track's pulling hard there right at the end.
John Heilman's Levi Garrett Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe actually isn't a turbo. I stand corrected on that. It's a supercharged engine. And it's not even a supercharged Ford, Mike.
No, it's a supercharged Rodeck, Dave. It's similar in style to a Chevrolet, but it's a solid aluminum racing engine.
John from Rockford, Ohio, has both a modified dragster tractor in the competition here at Super Bowl, as well as this 2-wheel drive funny car puller. And John, over the years, has been known as a very consistent driver. He's won national championships, of course, in the past. He's got the most out of his engines, and he's an excellent
areas under the hood.
Boy, he's got plenty of power. This could be his night. Floyd's toy.
Good run for Floyd.
And look how close he comes to the end. At 2:27. All right, here's Wayne Roush. He was our original test puller. He did not like the run. He had the option to drop 6 or take the pull, and he said, I'll drop 6. So here he comes now. Wayne Roush out of Dublin, Ohio. He has speed, he has lift, he may be losing his drawbar. He's got to have a full pull to tie.
And he does it. Good run for Wayne.
Chris Holdorf will be running his 87 Aerostar and 87 Taurus back-to-back, so he's going to be a busy guy here. He's already had a first and second in the first 2-wheel drive class that he entered, and he'd like to do it again here at Super Bowl 15.
And Dave, you can bet he wants to get right out the end of that track with Jim Brockman.
Well, I'll tell you, he spares nothing. Money is no problem when it comes to building the best engine there is. He wants the #1 spot, and he can do it. And he does do it.
Right out the end. He left it good, just a perfect run.
Unbelievable, Mike. Just power all the way. No problem for that run at all. All right, here comes the Florida Tracker with his second vehicle, Chris Holdorf's 1987 Taurus.
Boy, Chris had to make a quick trip back down the track and hop in this one, seeing how both units are pulling back to back.
604 cubic inch Ford engine, supercharged all the way. And Mike, how many gallons of alcohol would a run like this burn?
I would imagine they'd probably burn 6 to 8 gallons in one trip down the track, which is probably about 20 seconds or less.
A lot of fuel, a lot of air, and a lot of power. We've already got a full pull. We're going to have a pull-off in this class later on. He's headed for the back door. Here he comes, right down the track. Past, barely, but past the 234-foot mark. Didn't run as good as the Ford Aerostar, Mike.
Not at all. The Aerostar went out the end a lot quicker.
Bad dog. Mike Stowe out of Warrenton, Georgia, 1968 Ford. Just a couple of years, they went from the Chevrolet power to the big Aries engine, and they have loved it ever since.
Yeah, they have, Dave. Boy, ever since they put that big motor in there, Mike's been one of the top competitors in the class.
And in a 68 Ford, you really don't expect, when you look at this truck, for a lot of things to happen, but boy, they are super consistent.
Good run, all the way down the track.
They make a full pull very easy. Mike Stowe. Mike, we're starting to see a lot of full pulls in the class. Does that signify that the track is changing or something else?
Probably something else, Dave. After one guy goes out the end, and if they really aren't digging up the track, they begin to build a road right down the center of the track. And each trip down, the sled goes out the end just a little bit easier.
Plus, at the same time, we've got nothing but super competitors.
That's right. This is all top-notch equipment. So if one can make it, chances are quite a few more will.
The best field of two-wheel drives ever assembled here at Super Bowl 15. Kenny Lamont from Illinois is on his way, and he looks strong.
Got a little bit of a problem there, Dave.
I don't know. That looks close.
He made it out the end, but if you notice the last 50 or 75 foot, he was bouncing up and down awful hard. This was caused by the clutch, the centrifugal slipper clutch. There was too much clearance in it, and as the engine RPM came down, the truck started to bounce. Well, Dave, this is the last truck in the first round of competition. Wayne Roush with his little red truck.
Wayne, of course, running the big KB Chrysler Hemi engine as the track officials clear the track of the grading equipment and packing equipment, which has really kept the track in super shape. And that's why the pullers like to come to Indianapolis. They have nothing but the best track to pull on. Pullers would rather bring their expensive machinery out on a good track than to take it to a bad track any day. Here comes Wayne Roush. He needs a full pull to tie. Comes up short at 2:23 and 3. So that means we go to the pull-off now. There will be 6 in the pull-off. First in the pull-off is Jim Brockman out of New Haven, Indiana, the very professional puller. Knows how to drive. He's been in this situation many times before.
Sure has.
He's got a fire coming out of that right bank on the engine.
Looks like he had a little fuel leak there, Dave, on top of the motor, and that's where the fire came from.
Evidently nothing serious. Jim hasn't jumped out of the truck. The distance for Jim Brockman, 2:13 and 6.
Great run for Jim Brockman. Now coming to...
Well, Wayne Roush would have liked to have had both of his trucks in the pull-off here tonight, but he's only going to have one. That's the yellow Model T. So he hopes this big KB Hemi comes to life. He has to beat 2:13 and 6.
Good run, Dave.
Boy, it's super smooth. The slipping right at the end, taking a lot of power, and he's got it. And he is going to take the lead at 219 feet and 3 inches. Chris Holdorf has already won one class this weekend in the two-wheel drives. He'd like to make it 2. Here he comes with the Ford Aerostar van, the Gator. He's moving, but coming up a little short at 2:15 and 7. And Wayne Roush is still in the lead. Here he is on the starting line, hooked to the sled. He needs to beat 2:19 if he wants to win this pull. Here he comes.
Good run, Dave.
And look at him fly down the track. And he takes it out the gate for the second time in this class. And he will take a commanding lead here in the 6200 two-wheel drive. We have a couple of pullers left to play catch-up to Chris Holdorf. Anybody else now left in the class is going to need another full pull to tie to send us into a double pull-off.
Sure could, Dave, and either one of these last two guys could do it.
Bad Dog, Mike Stowe out of Warrenton, Georgia, makes a good start off the line. Let's see where he goes. And it's not far enough as the red flag goes up. Bad Dog is short at 207.6 in the pull-off. We're down to Kenny Lamont from Crossville, Illinois, and the scenario is this. He's got to have another full pull if he wants to tie Chris Holdorf and send this class into a second pull-off. It's as simple as that. He's got to go all out, put the hammer down, and make another full pull. And Mike, he's a guy that can do it.
He sure can, Dave, but Kenny had a little problem the first time through. His clutch was slipping right there at the end of the pull. So he's going to have to get after it real hard right off the starting line to get that clutch to lock up.
In other words, he can't slip it at all.
No, he won't be able to ride it very far. He's going to have to jump on it and go.
Got to lock it up. Here he comes. He's on his way. He's got a nice pull going. Here he comes right down the track, looking good.
Oh, no.
Oh, my word. I don't know what happened.
For some reason, the engine just quit, Dave, and we've been notified from the track personnel that his throttle linkage broke. Just probably a little nickel part, a little pin sticking out that the throttle cable hooks to, snapped off and cost Kenny the run.
In the 11,000-pound Unlimited, disaster struck on Saturday night. Dave Hager's old Ironside sled broke. It broke an axle on the right-hand side when Tim Engler made his pass. With 3 tractors to go in the class, the entire class was then restarted. That meant that Dave Walsh out of Austin, Wisconsin became our test puller. We brought up Ron Hickson's decision maker as the replacement sled. A good run for Dave Walsh out of Austin, Wisconsin, Aries they call the Irish Challenger, at 2:04.11. Here comes David Banner out of Warren, Indiana, with the 6-engine Chevrolet they call the Fox. Over toward the left-hand side, back to the right, getting nearly out of bounds. Did not touch the white line, evidently, as it is a good pull, but very short at 150.
Well, Dave, here's our only Superstocker in the class, and because there's only one, rather than drag the smoke tube through the whole class, we just let the one run without the smoke machine.
Well, the smoke goes straight to the ceiling for Mark Gettinger. Mark Gettinger's equalizer 117.3.
And Dave, the distances are a little short in this class, but because we've had to change sleds and bring in a sled that normally doesn't run the heavy modified class, they had to load the sled up a lot heavier than normal. So,
and because at that time of the evening, it was now approaching 11 o'clock,
that's right.
We don't need many full pulls.
And we didn't want to take a chance on junking out the only sled we had left, so no changes were made, and the setting was left as it was.
Here comes Mean Mistreater, Fred Freeman out of Wadesville, Indiana, hauling down the track. It's a good straight run for Fred at 185 even.
And Dave, as Steve Jaskey backs up, this is going to be his 3rd run in just this one class. He was the original test puller. He made his run. The officials decided the sled was too heavy. They reweighted it. Steve came back later in the class and pulled, and then the sled broke. So at the restart of the class, this is his 3rd hook in just this one class.
And this has got to be really hard on engine.
It really is, Dave, because as these alcohol motors, the alcohol goes down in the bottom of the engine and dilutes the oil. So the more runs they make in a row, the harder it is on the equipment.
A lot of heat in these engines. With his 3rd run now of session 3 in the 11,000-pound Unlimited. Steve Jaskey's had a pretty good weekend at Super Bowl. Let's see if it can continue.
Yes, they have. They've had an excellent weekend. load down through there, Dave.
Unbelievable. He gets over to the left-hand side of the track, but he keeps it between the white lines at 183.1.
The sled up, the more the tractors dig and tear up the track, and the more work and more time it takes for the track crew to put the track back together between each run.
Mike, here goes Tim Engler.
That's right, Dave. And the more weight that's on the sled, the more the tractors dig the track up, the more time it takes the track crew to put the track back together between each hook.
We've had a lot of runs on this track tonight at 130 mile an hour rear wheel speed. Here he goes, Tim Engler out of Princeton, Indiana. Gets over toward the left-hand side. I think he's worried about being out of bounds.
You even see Tim stand up and see where he's at, but he's okay, and he comes up with a distance of 175.10.
He had to shut it down.
Dave Banner pulls up to a tight hitch here in the restart of the 11,000-pound Unlimited. Banner Brothers, Mr. Chevy, out of LaFontaine, Indiana. They needed to beat 204.11, but they're short at 186.7.
Well, Dave, here's the only tractor in the country that carries 4 V12 Allison aircraft engines.
Mike Holden, the driver, out of Marietta, Ohio. Now, would these engines be carbureted?
No, Dave, they're fuel injected on alcohol, but it's a homemade fuel injection. Mike built everything himself.
Unbelievable the way these guys build this equipment. Ingenious, to say the least. Here he goes. Just couldn't seem to get any speed as he digs up the track at 155.3. And now they are really starting to tear up the track and build some ruts.
Yeah, they are, Dave. They're pulling an unbelievable load behind them down the track.
It's mind-boggling to look at Gardner Stone's tractor out of Middlebury, Vermont, because he's got 3 Allisons out there and just all kinds of apparatus and plumbing. Tell us about it, Mike.
Well, Dave, these engines are turbocharged and fuel injected on alcohol. Mike Holden's engines were supercharged and fuel injected. The superchargers have been done away with and replaced with turbochargers. This is an awesome machine that just makes an unbelievable amount of power.
Allison power, here he goes. And the General just never seemed to get up and take off.
It's a real heavy load, Dave, and it's hard to get the balance right and get a good start. But Gardner Stone ends up with a distance of 164.3 inches.
Here's Phil Patterson with the Sassy Massey out of Ware, New Hampshire.
Dave, Phil really had tough luck in this class. Before the sled broke, he was leading the first round in the class. Then when it come his turn to pull after the class was restarted, one engine didn't have any oil pressure, so they returned to the pit area, found a stuck check valve, and made it back as the last hook in the class.
We're just glad to have him here. Here he comes. Boy, he really pulls some weight and finishes at 192.7, second in the class, only to Dave Walsh, who wins it at 204.11. Class number 3, 11,000-pound Superstock, and Coleman Wheatley out of Bethel, Delaware. The Delaware Ether Eater, our number 1 puller.
Dave, I don't think Coleman's quite loaded up to 11,000 pounds. Still not a bad run, though.
John Deere 4250 comes to a halt at 212 even. All right, here's Lyle Hall out of Waupun, Wisconsin with a Minneapolis Moline G1000. It's alcohol burner, a lot of cubic inches, a lot of tire speed.
Good run right down the track.
He finishes at 216.9. You can hear the suction mic on the smoke machine as that big vacuolator outdoors sucks that air in.
That's right, Dave. They don't really wind the thing up until just before the tractor leaves the starting line.
Here comes Esden Lane with Red Line Fever out of Dayton, Minnesota. 4 turbos under the hood.
Good run.
A super run for Esden at 2:21 and 6.
Well, Dave, here's one of the strongest internationals in the whole country, Dickie Sullivan from Naylor, Missouri, with his 36.88 IH.
War Eagle. Dickie, a real class gentleman when it comes to pulling, a professional guy all the way.
Dickie turns the tires probably as hard as anybody in this class.
And look at him go.
He's right down there with a distance of 2:21 and 1.
Here we go.
Here comes another hot international, Dave. John Klug, Stockport, Iowa, IH 36.88.
He can move the flag. He's strong.
Had to fight it a little bit there in mid-track.
Didn't touch the brakes, though, as he gets close to the pylon at 2:19 and 6.
Here we go. The Rooster.
Air suction comes on the smoke machine, and here's a favorite in the class. He already has 1 win under his belt. Danny Dean out of South Charleston, Ohio. International 1066 they call Rooster.
Here we go. He has been extremely strong. Superstock.
Danny's tractor a couple years ago was lowered, and he's taken some weight off of that. There was a time when he wanted to go to the 7, Mike.
He tried to pull a 7,000-pound class a couple times, but he just hasn't got the tractor light enough where he has enough front-end weight to be competitive.
Here in the 11, he's looking strong.
Good run for Danny.
Way short at 2:09 and 10. Here's Brett Berg driving for his dad, Bill Berg, out of Farmington, Minnesota, the International 36.88. Neat looking tractor comes off the line. Tires turning. Look at him pick up the front end. Boy, he's got
carry it there.
Oh,
Looks really good, Dave.
perfect pull going. He is going to go by the pylon and take the lead at 2:25 and 4. A new leader, Brett Berg. Here's Jerry Van Dorpy out of Charlotte, Michigan, with a lot of plumbing. What is that, Mike?
Dave, he has 4 turbochargers, but he has them set up similar to the way the Alice Chalmers pullers do. 2 of the turbos are mounted outside the hood.
And he just runs out of power as he goes down. Never got a lot of good wheel speed, and he finishes at 2:19 and 1.
And Dave, here's this awesome 4010 John Deere out of northern Indiana. It's been a long time since the John Deeres have been really competitive in the heavy class, and it's just unbelievable to see a 4010 out here running like this.
Neil Gettinger has been a giant killer this weekend. The Milton, Indiana puller, a 4010. It's a fairly old tractor.
Yes, it is, Dave. It's an older style John Deere. It has really a smaller engine in it, and they really don't run all the super high dollar equipment that some of these internationals do, but they certainly make a lot of horsepower out of this tractor.
We have 3 tractors to go after Neil makes his run. And he's looking at his gauges, getting ready to build his boost on up and at him as he comes off the line. A little bit of leakage air of exhaust. Here he comes. He can turn the tires. And look at him go. This is a good run.
Unbelievable.
He's looking strong. Look out. Oh, hey! Excitement on the track, but I tell you, he's going to be happy with that run. 2:23.8. That puts him second only to Bill Berg.
John Deere fans, how'd you like that? A lot more John Deere fans now.
It's got a lot bigger engine, though, Dave. I wonder if this AC can catch that little John Deere out there.
And he's short by about 4 feet, Mike. In fact, at 2:19 and 5. So Mark is short of his brother Neil.
Interesting to note that the Superstockers have Baytown, Kentucky with an international.
Tom Morsey out of Jeffersontown, Kentucky. Sort of a happy-go-lucky puller. He won a Chevrolet pickup truck at the TNT Awards banquet. Biggest thing has ever happened to him in his pulling career, Mike.
Well, I'll tell you, I bet nobody has more fun in pulling than Tom does. He's just a real enjoyable guy to be around. Nice a fellow as you'd ever want to meet.
Always has a smile on his face. Here he goes. Let's hope he makes a good run.
Good run for his first run at Indy Super Pole.
Not bad at all. 2:21 and 1, and he beat some very competitive tractors in this class. Hans Boxler dropped a couple places in the class to last because they had the tractor split out in the pit area. They had a loose flywheel, and they have thrashed on this tractor the last couple of hours. Actually, the sled breakage in the earlier class helped them make this 11,000-pound Superstock and get to the field.
That's right, Dave. Splitting one of these tractors in half to work on the clutch or flywheel is a major, major operation. Looks like the flywheel's hanging in there this run.
They've got a nice pull going, an excellent run, and they finish at 2:22 and 7. Good enough for third place after Berg and Gettinger.
Earlier today, they completely tore the engine apart. They had a
State Fair Coliseum to handle the next guy that we're going to bring up here. Ladies and gentlemen, not third place, but first place as well. First and third of the 1988 Indy Super Bowl, the Florida Cracker, Chris Holdorf. And I'll tell you, our sincere congratulations, big guy.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Dave, and the IPI for putting this on, all you people for coming here. You've got the #1 indoor poll in the world here in Indianapolis. Anybody that doesn't come here and goes somewhere else is just a chicken.
All right, left out, come on in here. Let's get the belt buckles out here. I'll tell you, you've got all kinds of awards and trophies, and these are two beautiful belt buckles, compliments of the Indy Super Bowl. I know that you'll wear them proudly.
I will. I want to get these three guys right here up there. They're my crew. Come here.
Let's bring the crew in right here. Here's the crew. Here's the guys that drive the semi up and down the road from north to south, east to west. And let's let you do the honors of introducing them to everybody here at the Indy Super Bowl.
All right, this is my friend Alan. He takes care of the oranges that we bring up here every year. They come from his grove. This is Lester Scruggs here. He helps Jack, and John Tucker right here is the main man that built both these trucks. Keeps the motors running. Rick Kipley gives them to us, and Jack keeps them running. And all I do is push the throttle and stand out here, hopefully. Thanks again, folks.
Let's hear it for him, everybody, right here at the Indy Super Bowl. Champion tonight, taking first and third place, Chris Holdorf. Back to you, Les. 11,000-pound unlimited class is always tough, no matter where you pull, but when you win the Indy Super Bowl, you've won the best. And Dave Walsh, you made the original run, and I remember your dad asking everybody, it seemed like, should you take it? Well, it stood up. A lot of times, you know, it'll come back to haunt you later on, and this has got to be, what, the biggest thrill of your life?
Yeah, it is. To win the Indy Super Bowl, it's a real thrill to win it. Your best tractors in the nation are here, and it's a real thrill to win it.
All right, and Dad, you got to feel ecstatic as well.
I feel great on Dave. I feel great for him.
Well, I tell you, he was asking everybody, should he take it? What do you think? And I tell you, made the right decision, and we say congratulations. Let's bring in the belt buckle right now. Here's the beautiful Indy Super Pull, sterling silver belt buckle that you'll wear proudly, I know, for many years to come. Congratulations, Dave Walsh. And good luck in the years to come on the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Circuit.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave Walsh and his dad from Boston, Wisconsin.